Good evening, all. Tonight's presentation is from Daniel Sundstrom, or Sundstrom. Sorry, Daniel.
It's fine.
Daniel is an astrophotographer and developer of astronomical accessories from Arvika. Is that correct, Daniel?
Yeah.
In Sweden. Tonight, Daniel will present his journey and experience in astrophotography, talk about his outreach from both lectures, his YouTube channel and workshops with the European Space Agency and European Space Agency Education Resource Office.
Yeah.
So, over to you, Daniel.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for having me. It's always great fun to be able to share what I do and how I do it. It's been really not a struggle, but to start off with a quite advanced hobby and try to learn before when YouTube really hit off, so to speak. So I actually had to learn from scratch very much. So I try to share my knowledges with people who want to get into the hobby and make their journey easier. So to speak. But just a little bit introduction of myself. Daniel Sundstrom from Arvika in Sweden, and it's a place between Stockholm, Oslo, and Gothenburg. So we have all the train tracks crossing here. So it's not a central point in Sweden, but it's quite easy to get out to all major cities around. Arvika is about 26,000 inhabitants, so it's not a large town, large enough to have light pollution, and I live just in the middle of the city, so I fight light pollution a lot. So, but there's a way around that too. I work at Volvo Construction Equipment. I make the yellow wheel loaders. I've been working for Volvo for 23 years now, actually. So that's just a short introduction of myself. My journey, and feel free to ask questions at any time. The more, the merrier. My first touch with astronomy was when I was around 8 years old. I got one of these small red telescopes. I don't know if you guys recognize it, but these are the telescopes which are sold in Lidl or any other store. You can get them off shelf. So I didn't know how to use it at all. My parents didn't know it. And I remember one time when looking at the moon through my bedroom window with the window closed, and I wasn't really impressed of the image. And these telescopes aren't very impressive to begin with. So my early days with the hobby died just after my first impression of using a telescope somewhat. And when I got my first salaries and I was reading a magazine, I read a what do you call it? A slip from a shop presenting these new Celestron neck stars, and I thought to myself that, well, maybe I should give this another try. So the Celestron 5-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain was my first real telescope, so to speak. If it was today, I don't know if I have started with a Schmidt-Cassegrain. Quite hard to use, I thought, the first times, with quite high magnification. I also have an interest in photographing from before, so and I found out quite early on that you can connect your DSLR camera to the telescope, and right there it was the very beginning of my astrophotography career, so to speak. And I had this telescope for a couple of years, and I as with all gear, you grow into it and learning more and more of it. And these are some of the pictures. The pictures to the left, I don't have a clue what that. I don't know if you can see it, but can you see my mouse cursor? It's some fuzzy nebula there. I don't know if it is cat's eye nebula, something. I can't remember. I haven't done any annotation of what the image is, but I got something. The picture to the right is, of course, the moon, one of my first high magnification images of the moon. So this was my very first astro images, which I could find on my computer. A couple of years later, I found out that, well, there's much more to it than this. So I actually bought a Sundstrom 9.25 inch Schmidt grain and a proper mount. So that's a EQ6 down below. And by the time this was the Rolls Royce, if you didn't want to go with the American Titans. So, but the EQ6 was heavy enough to be stable and to take longer exposures, as it was equatorial as well. And one more steep learning curve. Polar alignment. I don't know if I have to tell you about that, but it's the nightmare of the old mount kind of thing to do, to be able to take good pictures with equatorial mounts. But I learned that as well. And when I started photographing with the 9-inch telescope, of course the moon, it's a go-to object, but I also took my first image of Jupiter. It's up to the left. It wasn't very good, but I also bought a 4-inch, I believe, 102 millimeters Meade apochromatic refractor, and the first image I took with that one is the image of the left of the Andromeda galaxy, and that is my first image of Andromeda galaxy. So I kind of grew into it even more, and after this my main imaging scope was the Meade. I didn't really get around taking deep sky images with my 9-inch telescope. It was by the time absolutely too demanding for me. I am not sure if I even was guiding by this point, so yeah, the results is it is what it is when you don't guide your mount. So yeah, and we arrived at the first video. I took some images of Jupiter and I shared them on a online forum, and by the time we have a forum which was called Astronet, and there was a dude in Stockholm which were interested in doing a project on photographing Jupiter to be able to simulate the same flyby as the early Voyager probes did. So I joined that project, and this video is the result. So I will try to play this, and I hope the audio as well works. So here we go. The audio starts in just a little bit. It's just music anyway, so it isn't. Is it working?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Right. See if I can go forward in the presentation again. Okay, so during this time, we started in December 2013, and I remember one night I was out photographing Jupiter in January, just a nearby airport, closed airport, and it was minus 26 degrees Celsius that night. So I remember calling home to my girlfriend and said, "Baby, you need to fill up the bathtub with as hot water as you can because I am freezing right now." So it was quite demanding gathering these pictures, but it turned out well, and the results was shown at the planetary conference in throughout the world, and we also got published at the NASA website under the Unimission website for doing this, and actually showing what amateur astronomy equipment can do today, what we had to send out probes to do during the 70s. So it's a nice comparison, and how far the technique has gone with today's cameras and such. So it was great fun. The images were not Damien Peach quality, but it was okay to show that we can do this now from Earth, basically. Okay, so we are now entering my deep space era, which I currently is in. But this is my first image of the Orion Nebula, and I was published in some magazine for that. I thought it was very great fun. And my first image is with I think it is the M33 Triangulum Galaxy and the Pleiades. And the hobby kept growing. Was able to buy some more gear, and got bit of the gear devil, so to speak. And me and my girlfriend bought a house together, and during the first week of owning the house, I fell down a tree and start building my own observatory, just to be able to get up to speed and not have to do all the alignments and polar alignments and such. So, started off building the observatory, and there's over 1 ton of concrete in the ground, and 1 by 1 by 1 meter the hole. And I also bought a huge iron cylindrical pillar to support my my EQ6 mount by that time. And I just the same year when I was finished with the observatory, I had my first Northern Lights just as a backdrop. Thought it was very nice. And this is how it looks completed with the roll-off roof and the rails, so it rolls off to the right here. And this is what it looked like from the inside. So the bottom telescope is the Meade 4-inch telescope, and the top one is actually a Skywatcher Star Travel 4-inch as well. And because I got to learn that you have to guide to be able to take great images, so I bought the standalone Sundstrom guide camera. It's the silver part which lights red, and I used this for a couple of years, and I got some even more better images, and a new image of the I think it is the M33, or if it's the M101.
M33.
Yeah, I can't remember. And the Horsehead Nebula. So, and I think this is the last images I took with my DSLR. And I bought I have to go. No, actually, this camera at the bottom telescope is the Attic 460. That was my first proper astronomy camera. So that's a CCD camera. coupled with a Starlight Express filter wheel. So this is my actually first images with a proper astronomy camera. And then we go into the era where I use my mount as I currently have as well. I stumbled upon, I looked at equipment online and I drooled about owning a Astronomy System Austria mount, awesome mount. And I thought that, well, I am never going to be able to afford a awesome mount, but it happened to came online from Germany at a website. We are looking to sell this one. It has been mounted in the southern Germany and coupled with a 24-inch corrected Dahl-Kirkham telescope. So this is a workhorse, and the alignment precision is outstanding, and it's a direct driven servo motors, so it's no gear, no backlash, no nothing. You don't have to guide anything. It is quite demanding balancing, because all gear which you put on this has to be balanced into zero, and that has to do with the motors working as effortless as possible. So I have had this since 2015, I think, or 16, and it has been working absolutely flawlessly since that. So very, very nice equipment. And of course the images, well, as you can see, this is the second or third image of the Andromeda Galaxy on the right, and also I think it's the Witch Nebula to the left, and this is also my first images with the narrow band filters. First of all, I just shot the images with the RGB image, and when I approach this level of quality of the subframes, I quickly learned that I have to be better at editing, because I used Photoshop earlier, and well, it worked, but it was kind of hard to get the results I wanted, and I stumbled upon this program called PixInsight, so that elevated my images as well. Outreach, well, as my interest grew and my images were better and better, and the news around me started to notice that I have my own observatory and are photographing the universe. So at the top right, that's the Swedish radio. They made a piece of what I'm doing, and then the Swedish television, which is the top left image, heard from the radio that I am doing this. So they sent out a camera crew, and I made a piece of what I'm doing, and filming some of my images. And that news piece was elevated to the national news the same evening. And I got so many SMS and emails from hobbyists around Sweden, like, yay, you're doing your part. Perfect for the hobby. Also been published in the down to the right, today's work. It's a magazine for industrial workers. They made a piece about it. And then we have the Voyager project, which Glenn Orton from Jet Propulsion Lab, which you can see in the middle down below, which really thought that, hey guys, what you have done is amazing. And also Stella und Weltraum, the German magazine in the top middle, made a piece about the Jupiter project as well. So I think this is a great opportunity to actually be some kind of ambassador for our hobby, and also highlighting the struggle we have with light pollution and such, to be able to enjoy what the universe has been giving us, basically. So that's a big part of what I like to do as well. Okay, I mentioned the the editing I need to step up, and this is where I really dug into what can I teach from YouTube, and it turns out that quite a lot actually. So I learned a lot of how to use PixInsight and to be better on how to do that. And this is my first image, which I can say that I am really, really proud of. This was a project from going from taking hundreds of pictures of whatever I want to take to really be able to focus on one picture per season, or maybe two, gather a lot of data and gather out the good data and edit that data. So this image is one of my first images which I have been collecting hundreds of hours. So the 100 hours on this image is the actual images I kept from all the image sessions. So I don't know how many hours I began with, but it's plus 150 hours raw material which I collected. So this is the Rosette Nebula in sulfur, H alpha, and oxygen. And this is also my first Hubble palette image. So yeah, this image is taken with the 4-inch telescope, the Meade. After this, I bought a new telescope, and this is the telescope service 10-inch astrograph, but I updated it with the beefier focuser to be able to, in the future, get a bigger image circle so I can have a full frame camera. That's why I went from a 2.5 to a 3-inch focuser, and equipped it with the Prima Luce Lab Sesto Sensor focus motor. And I have to give a shout out to Prima Luce Lab, because their product is second to none. Absolutely perfect. That focus motor has been working without a single hiccup since 2019. And also a corrector coupled to this. And I also did some measurements of the focuser to be able to get the right backlash, and by this point I'm getting more and more technical and is approaching all of this gear as a what could cause some problem and eliminating that possible cause of error. So I took a deep dive, I reassembled and everything together, and worked out these little quirks, and actually measured the backlash of the focuser, which turned out to be about 40 steps on the motor, so you can nail the focus even better. And by this time actually the Rosette Nebula was the first image which had a complete set of my narrowband filters, but from now on I have a complete set of narrowband, which I am going to use quite a lot to be able to fight the light pollution from the city. 2021, I bought a bigger camera, the ZWO ASI 2600, and that is equivalent to a crop sensor, DSLR crop sensor. So it has, I think it is 36 millimeters across, or something like that. And the first image or the first project I did was the Elephant Trunk Nebula, which you can see to the right. And I'm still continuing to take better and better images and getting more and more pleased with them. And this is one of the images which I am most pleased with. I'm also getting better and better at editing these, and by this point, or just after this point, AI is introduced on the market, and that is going to be a huge step up for all astrophotographers, which is using not just PixInsight, but there are other tools as well, which are using AI. Okay, this is a time lapse I did during one of the evenings I photographed, and let's see if it works. I don't know why it's so small, but I have a 4K screen. Maybe it's that.
We couldn't see the stars because the lights are on.
Okay, so that is how it can look. Let's see here. There we go. This is another project which turned out to be both satisfying and very, very disappointing for me. It's the Bubble Nebula, which is quite obvious, but I don't know if you can see the fuzzy part up in the corner here. Can you see where I'm pointing?
Yes, yeah.
Can you see it's a shape of a skull almost? It's kind of hard to see on a projector, but it looks like a skull in profile. And I had to ask for help to be able to identify this one. And I searched for hours and hours and hours, and I didn't find anything. But then a friend of mine found this object in the Dobashi catalog. Has any of you heard of that catalog?
No.
Japanese catalog. This was discovered 6 months before I took this image. So that's quite disappointing. because it have been really cool to be able to name one of these objects. But and this is, well, sometime before as well, but I find it more interesting to be looking at the edges of the objects, because the objects itself are very, very well studied, but what can we see in the distance of these objects around? So that's one thing I look for when I finalize my images. And this is also a narrow band image, and you can see the well, I forgot the name of the star cluster to the right, but it's two of them, one open and one globular star cluster. And this is where I start to record videos of what I am doing and how I am doing stuff, to be able to inform other people. I really think that I would have learned quicker if I had been able to watch some more YouTube videos of how to do some kind of this stuff. So I think this is fun for myself, and to be able to teach others, that's just a bonus as well. So it's just a screenshot of my YouTube channel. Some more images. This is an image I put up for a contest, and I was in third place. This is the contest Swedish Astronomy Association had last year. And it's M3, and this image doesn't make it justice, because I can resolve the images almost in the very center of the star cluster. So it's a really nice image. This is one of the images I'm also very, very proud of. You can also see quite a lot of galaxies in the distance as well, and that's the when you take so much data, you can really work with the faint things. So that's quite nice. And here we are with my work with the European Space Agency, or actually the education part of it, which is called ESERO. And I believe ESERO is present in most of the European countries as a resource for teachers, schools, pupils as well. But the main goal with ESERO is to take down the universe to the schools, basically, as a resource. And because ESA is tax funded, this is almost a free service for the schools in Sweden. So I was asked 2 years ago if I was interested in telling interested teachers on how to start with astrophotography with simple means, and what to do with those simple means. What can we do? You don't have to have the biggest telescope or the most advanced camera to take pictures of the planets or the moon. So that is something I have going on right now. And it's really fun. We also have some selected schools which we have had 2 classes with. And it's great fun to inform students, and these are, I believe, 16 and 17 years old. And I remember I have 5 courses during these days, and one of them is regarding northern lights, and how to take images with your cell phone, basically, because cell phones today is as good as they permit taking good pictures of northern lights. And during the day we talked about what is northern lights, what happens in the sun, and when does it arrive to the earth, and what criteria has to be met to be able to see northern lights. and we visited the Parker Solar Probe website, and we visited the Space Weather Live website. So we watched the data from the SOHO satellites and the Parker, and the values just went getting better and better during the day, and by the evening all the gauges were on blinking red. So we went out, and the student just bounced off on the ground, because it was one of the most powerful northern lights I have ever seen. So we are on the 58 degree north, and we were actually looking south during that night. So it was very, very intense northern lights, and it gives so much back to see all these students seeing all that joy, and when they are enjoying the universe and all these spectacles that is keep on giving. And I also mentioning for them, keep an eye on Betelgeuse, because we never know if it goes supernova during our lifetime. So that is one thing I'm really hoping for. So that would be cool. I think I have one last image, and I finalized this a couple of months ago. This is my first mosaic image, because the 10-inch astrograph has too much magnification for it, so I had to split it up, and it contains about 27 hours on each panel, and yeah, this is my third or fourth visit to Andromeda Galaxy, and yeah, you can really see those dust lanes in the middle. So I'm quite proud of this image as well. So that is my last image, and basically my journey from scratch. Yeah. Now, what will the future hold? That's the last image. I don't know. I am enjoying all of this, and I will keep on taking all my images, and yeah, I don't know. I will still keep on working with ESA and Zero, because it's a great fun, and to be able to speak with guys like you.
Well, Daniel, that was really interesting. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we could obviously see your journey in the improvement in the photos and pictures.
Yeah.
For the last one, how many mosaic panels did you need?
This is just two. This is my first try on the mosaic, so this is just a 2-panel. And it's new kind of tools and PixInsight for me, and working out the workflow, in which order you have to do certain tools. But it's worked out better than I thought. But working with thousands of subframes, it really takes some time. I usually put on like 3 and 4 hours just going through all the subframes. So it's quite time consuming, even if you use the tools, subframe selector and the automized tools. So it's time consuming.
It came out really well.
Yeah, I think so too.
I noticed in your YouTube channel you've got a video on changing the fan in your ASI's camera, which is what I had to do, and I think your video would have helped. It was it wasn't too difficult, but it's made a big difference.
Yeah, I first read that some people had problems, and that is basically my approach in discarding possible errors. I didn't know how my images were affected, but the fan cost, like, I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't much at all, the fan, and just to be able to switch it and not not be able to have these problems. It's worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, I did mine as well,
Yeah.
Daniel. I did both of the cameras, and I did notice in a subframe once, a satellite trial.
Yeah.
Different
kind of emotion with that.
And I researched it, and I replaced both of my fans as well for subframes. So it worked really well.
What's it you replace it for? To get a better fan or to better balance?
It was for the fans they put in a mass production, so they're not high quality. I just got a really noiseless, well balanced fan. It was £20. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah. This is the vibrations.
Really, and when you mount it, I didn't use screws that they did. I used like rubber posts, like silicone posts.
Oh, yeah.
So you just pull them and flick them into place with a bar, and it just absorbs just a little bit of frequency from it.
Cushion.
But I haven't noticed that problem anymore. So for £20 and a few hours of carefully disassembling and putting it back together.
They are a little bit fuzzy. They're almost coggy, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's mass production, so.
I think the original fan is called Sunon or something.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And I actually read that some are good, but it can had a bad batch or something. So, but the PC fans are, well, they are heavily proved, and I actually thought of getting a Noctua one. That's also a good brand, but these were more or less just bolt on these fractal designs.
Yeah, I bought two of those, the nocturnal ones.
Yeah. In the bottom of my astrograph, I have a Noctua 90mm to be able to draw air, because it get kind of humid here sometimes. I believe it is in England as well, and because I have my gear mounted outside in the observatory, if it changes from warm to cold weather, you can get condensation on the mirror, and if you get that, it gets dirty really fast. So I had to draw air. Well, the first iteration, I blew air on the backside of the mirror and blew air up and out of the telescope tube. But I read a study on you can get hot spots doing that, or uneven cooling. The cooling is not an issue for me, but I wanted a good airflow, so I changed that and sucking air through the tube down on the mirror and around instead. And I went with a Noctua fan for that one, and it worked out fine.
I've got to say, looking at your pictures, it looks like cooling is not a big issue for you.
No.
ICQ shields and
electricity you saved.
Have you been tempted to try one-shot color cameras at all?
Both yes and no. no, but it's not, because the color cameras today is getting better and better. But for me, it's also a question of resolution, because you get 4 times resolution of a monochrome camera. But the convenience of a color camera, I don't have a grab-and-go scope setup, but if I ever want to go down that route, possibly the new Harmonic AM3 mount, a small Red Cat, and the new I don't know what it's called, the ASI Air color camera duo thingy.
Yeah.
It's because I often get the question, what's the best telescope? Well, that is that you use. And if you get a bundle of a camera and a control computer and a guide chip in one, it's good to go. And you don't even have to have a observatory. I can have my gear up and running in less than 2 minutes. But if you have a setup with a color camera like that, say 3 minutes and you're off to go. So it fills some kind of gap in the market. And I will say that with these new dwarf cameras and C-Star, they fill a gap in the market. Maybe I won't buy them, but I am seeing the entry level, people have less and less time for hobbies. So, and the technology is getting more advanced, but also cheaper and easier to use. So I think it's a good thing. It's a natural evolution.
Maybe we'll have remote hosting on the moon one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Not much light pollution. Really.
No. Well, there might be. There might be drilling for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also have to give credit to the community. I talked to the technical office here in Narvik and asked them to. We have the old sodium lights here, the orange one, and they had like these bulbs underneath. So I actually called them and asked them, is it something we can do in my neighborhood to be able to minimize the light pollution? And they actually went out and changed the lights on the light post to a flat glass surface and a LED. LED it's not better per se because it's a broader spectrum than sodium, right? But the light is directed more down to the ground. So I don't know which is worse, but the direct light has been minimized as well.
The nice thing about the sodium lights is there's two emitting wavelengths very close together. All you need is one notch filter and it's gone. Yeah,
that's the benefit of it. But for me, I had because it was a bulb like that, I had a direct light right in my telescope. So for me, the LEDs were better, but they're not great.
Have you tried asking them to fit a shade onto it?
Come again?
Have you tried asking them to fit a shade?
What's that?
In like a shade on the side of the...
Oh, okay, a shade, yeah. No, I haven't asked them. But,
we've a few guys have done that in the UK with the council. If you say it's causing you sleepless nights because you can't...
Yeah, actually, one of the lights is actually shining into our bedroom, so it won't be a
even
hoax.
Even better if it's shining onto bats. Protected species. So
okay, so the environmental office. It is them.
Your bats
or newts, the great crested newt.
It's interrupting their breeding cycle.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. They'll be on it straight away. Was there any questions from the rest of them, no?
I think that was brilliant.
It was very good, Danny.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
And I will send the presentation so you can watch it again and again and again.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Well, keep making YouTube videos.
I will.
We'll send you a request what we want you to make, and
perfect. I actually need some input on what to make because I started to make up things almost.
Well, I found you, Daniel, because, as you know, I bought a telescope similar to yours, and you generally look to see if you can find any input or educational tutorial stuff on telescope, and we're only a few at the moment, so yeah, there's not many with that telescope out there, so I'll be bothering you even more. and I'm glad you told me about the fan.
Yeah.
I was going to make it push, but I'll try it the other way. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, and good evening.
Thanks, Daniel. That was great.